parents threatened to disown me. Did it themselves, and I got peace they never thought I'd actually want. My mom's hand is shaking so hard the ice in her glass rattles, and my dad is standing at the end of the table like he's giving a speech to a jury, not talking to his daughter. My little nephew is in the living room watching cartoons too loud, blissfully unaware, and all I can hear over the TV is my dad's voice getting sharper with every sentence. "You think you could just live however you want," he says, jabbing the air with 2 fingers like he's pinning me to the wall. And we're supposed to smile and accept it. My throat is tight, the kind of tight where swallowing feels like pushing down a fist. My mom whispers, "Just say you're sorry," like she's asking me to put out a fire with my bare hands. And I'm staring at this white envelope on the table that my dad slid toward me a minute ago, his name written on the front in blocky letters, like he couldn't stand the thought of cursive on something meant to cut. I don't open it right away, which makes my dad angrier. He hates pauses. Pauses mean I'm thinking, and thinking means I might not comply. The overhead light makes everything look harsh. My mom's blotchy cheeks, the vein in my dad's neck, the smear of tomato sauce on my own plate that I suddenly can't stand to look at. "Open it," he says. "Go on, since you're so independent." My fingers finally pinch the corner of the envelope, and I can feel how thin the paper is, like it's almost nothing, like the words inside are going to weigh more than the entire sheet. I tear it open and pull out 1 page. It's printed, not handwritten, like they prepared this. Like they drafted and edited and maybe even printed a second copy in case the first one got crumpled. My eyes catch on the phrase, "no longer welcome in our home," and my stomach drops. Not because I didn't see it coming, but because seeing it in ink makes it real in a way shouting never did. It was a Sunday afternoon, which was the most predictable time for my family to do something unpredictable. Sundays were always our reset day, where we pretended the week hadn't happened and we were still the kind of family that ate together and laughed and didn't keep score. I've been doing that routine for years. Show up, be pleasant, don't bring up anything that might spark my dad. Don't react when my mom makes little comments that are technically jokes but land like tiny slaps. I've been telling myself it was fine, that I could manage it, that I could love them without letting them close enough to bruise me. And then I told them I wasn't going to keep bending my life into the shape they liked anymore, and the whole reset cracked open like cheap paint. The thing people don't always understand about disowning is that it's almost never a sudden decision. In my family, it was a threat that got used the way other people use grounding or taking away a phone. It was my dad's ultimate lever. When I was 19 and wanted to move out for university instead of commuting, he leaned against the kitchen counter and said, calm as anything, "If you walk out that door, don't bother walking back." When I started dating someone he didn't approve of because he wasn't the right religion, the right background, the right kind of obedient, my dad said, "Choose carefully. We don't have to accept this." When I got my first job offer in another city and I was excited, my mom's smile froze and she said, "Your father won't like that. He'll say you're abandoning the family." It was always that. Their love came with a receipt. For a long time, I did what they wanted. Not because I didn't have my own opinions, but because it was easier to be the good daughter than it was to be the daughter they turned into a cautionary tale. My older brother, Marco, was the golden child in a way that was both obvious and denied. He could crash a car, and it was a mistake. I could forget to call back, and it was disrespect. Marco could move in with his girlfriend, and my parents helped him paint the new place. I could mention moving out, and my dad acted like I'd announced I was joining a cult. I learned early that peace wasn't something my family offered. Peace was something I manufactured by shrinking. And the thing is, shrinking works until it doesn't. It works until you realize your entire adult life is a series of tiny compromises that you didn't actually agree to. It works until you start having that hollow feeling after every family dinner, like you ate food but not nourishment. It works until you sit in your car afterward and notice your shoulders are up around your ears, and you don't even remember doing that. The breaking point wasn't one dramatic event. It was a buildup of small humiliations that I kept swallowing. Like my dad joking in front of relatives that I was too sensitive because I went to therapy. Like my mom telling my aunt, right in front of me, that I was going through a phase because I set boundaries about showing up unannounced at my apartment. Like my dad making comments about my relationship, like it was something shameful I was dragging behind me. My partner, Sam, never pushed me to cut them off. He did the opposite, actually. He kept saying, "I'll follow your lead," and "I don't want to be the reason you lose your family," which somehow made me see even more clearly how often my family had trained me to accept love that came with strings. A few weeks before that Sunday dinner, my dad called me and asked me to come over for a talk. That phrase is like a siren in my family. A talk is never a talk. It's a lecture with surprise penalties. I drove to my parents' place with my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my fingers hurt. When I walked in, my mom had already set the table like it was an event. My dad sat at the head with that expression he gets when he's decided he's right, and he's waiting for you to realize it too. Marco was there with his wife, barely looking up from his phone, like he'd been summoned as backup. I sat down and waited. My dad said, "We need to discuss your choices." I said, "Okay." He asked if Sam and I were serious, in that tone that implies the answer will be judged. I said yes. He asked if we were going to make it official, meaning marriage, meaning a ceremony he could control. I said we'd talk about it when we were ready. He asked if I planned to raise children properly, which was his coded way of saying, in the way we approve of. I said as calmly as I could, "If we have kids, we'll raise them with love and stability." My dad's face tightened. "That's not an answer." "It is," I said. "It's just not the one you want." My mom tried to smooth it over immediately, laughing and saying, "Your father just worries," but I could feel something in me shifting. I was sitting there listening to them discuss my life like it belonged to them, and for the first time I noticed how absurd it was. I'm in my 30s. I pay my own bills. I have my own home. I have a job I like. I'm not asking them for money or permission. And yet they were still talking to me like I was 16, and they were deciding whether I could go to a party. So I did something I usually didn't do. I said, "I need you both to stop using the disowning threat." The air in the room changed instantly. Marco actually looked up, eyebrows raised, like he couldn't believe I'd said it out loud. My dad's voice went cold. "We don't threaten." "You do," I said, and my voice shook, but I didn't back down. "You say don't come back whenever I don't do what you want. You act like your love is conditional. I'm not doing that anymore." My mom's face crumpled, and she went straight to the script. "Why are you attacking us? We've done everything for you." My dad leaned forward slowly. "If you don't respect us," he said, "you don't get to be part of this family." I stared at him, and I felt this strange calm. "Okay," I said, "then say what you mean. Either you love me as I am, or you don't." That's when my dad stood up, pushed his chair back, and said, "Fine, maybe you should leave." And I left. I didn't slam the door. I didn't cry in front of them. I picked up my bag, walked to my car, and drove away with my heart pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. I pulled into a random car park and sat there gripping the steering wheel, feeling like I just stepped off a cliff and discovered I could still breathe. After that, I tried to keep distance. I didn't call. I didn't go over. I kept telling myself that maybe they'd cool off, maybe they'd reflect, maybe they'd realize that threatening to throw your child away isn't normal. But in my family, reflection is rare. Control is their comfort blanket. When I stopped responding to the leash, they yanked harder. So then came that Sunday, the envelope, the printed page, my dad's voice like a gavel. The letter was formal in the way that made my skin crawl. It talked about values and respect and choices incompatible with our household. It said I was no longer welcome at family events until further notice, and that they would not support my lifestyle. It ended with a sentence that was supposed to sound noble. "We release you to the life you have chosen." Release. Like I was a balloon they were tired of holding. My mom was watching me read it like she expected me to collapse. My dad was watching like he expected me to plead. I set the paper down carefully on the table. My hands were steadier than I expected. My mouth was dry, but my voice came out clear. "So you're disowning me," I said. My dad crossed his arms. "If that's how you want to phrase it." "No," I said. "It's how you're doing it." My mom started crying then, the big gulping kind that makes people rush in to comfort her, and I could see my dad's face soften for her, but not for me. "We didn't want this," she sobbed. We wanted you to come back to us." I almost laughed, but not because it was funny, because it was so revealing. They didn't want me. They wanted the version of me that obeyed. "I didn't go anywhere," I said quietly. "I just stopped agreeing to be controlled." My dad's jaw clenched. "Don't twist it." "I'm not twisting anything," I said. "You're the one who wrote a letter." Marco cleared his throat like he wanted to say something, but he didn't. He sat there, silent, loyal to whoever had the most power in the room. That was always Marco's move. Don't get involved unless it benefits you. I looked at my parents, my mom crying, my dad rigid, my nephew laughing in the other room, unaware, and I felt something I didn't expect. Relief. Not the shiny, happy kind, the heavy kind. Like taking off a backpack you didn't realize you'd been carrying for 20 years. "Okay," I said. My dad blinked. "Okay." "Yes," I said. "If you're telling me not to come back, then I won't." My mom made a wounded sound. "You can't just." "I can," I said. "You've been threatening this my whole life like it would destroy me. I'm telling you right now, I'm not begging." My dad's face darkened because the threat wasn't landing. "Don't be dramatic," he snapped. "I'm not," I said, and it was the strangest part. I wasn't. I felt sad. I felt grief like a low ache behind my ribs. But I didn't feel panicked. I didn't feel like I was dying. I felt free. I stood up. My chair legs scraped against the floor, and the sound made my mom flinch. I picked up the letter and folded it once, neatly, then slid it back into the envelope. I didn't know why I did that, but something in me needed to treat it like what it was, their decision contained, not spilling all over me. My mom reached for my hand. "Please," she whispered. I pulled my hand back gently. "I love you," I said, and my throat tightened on the words. "But I'm not doing this anymore." Then I walked out. I sat in my car afterward and expected a breakdown. I expected to shake. I expected the childhood fear to rush back in like it always did after a fight. Instead, I just sat there breathing, staring at the steering wheel, listening to my own pulse settle. The sky was that dull gray blue that makes everything look muted. A neighbor walked by with grocery bags, glanced at my car, looked away. The world continued. When I got home, Sam opened the door before I even knocked because he'd been watching for me through the window, and the second I stepped inside, I felt my body loosen. He didn't ask questions right away. He just wrapped his arms around me, and I leaned into him so hard my knees almost gave. "They did it," I said into his shoulder. Sam didn't ask who. He already knew. He just said, "I'm here." That first week after, I kept waiting for the guilt to swallow me. It came in little waves, passing a shop my mom liked, seeing a family laughing in a park, hearing a song my dad used to play in the car. But underneath the guilt, there was something else, quiet. My phone wasn't buzzing with demands. I wasn't bracing for surprise lectures. I wasn't reading between the lines of every message to figure out what punishment was coming. I woke up, and my first thought wasn't, what do I owe them today? I didn't realize how loud my life had been until it got silent. Of course, they didn't stay silent for long. The disowning wasn't a clean cut the way they imagined. It was a performance, and performances need an audience. My mom posted vague quotes online about betrayal and family, as if I'd stolen something from her. My dad told relatives I'd chosen a man over my family, which is the laziest narrative and also the one that makes them look noble. Marco texted me once, one single message that said, "This is really hurting, Mom." Not, "How are you?" Not, "Are you okay?" Just a reminder of my assigned role as emotional caretaker. I replied, "Tell Mom I'm hurt too." He never responded. Then came the part that honestly cemented everything for me. They expected me to crack. They expected me to show up at the door with tears and apologies, because that's how it always ended. They expected me to miss them so much I'd accept whatever terms they laid out. I could practically picture my dad saying, "She'll come around," like he was patient and wise. I didn't come around. Instead, my life got calmer in small ways that felt almost suspicious at first. I stopped flinching when my phone rang. I started cooking dinner without feeling like I had to rush through it in case someone demanded my time. I went to therapy and talked about my family without feeling like I was betraying them by describing what they actually did. I started sleeping through the night. I didn't realize how many nights I'd been waking up with my jaw clenched until I wasn't. Peace is not fireworks. Peace is an unclenched stomach. Peace is putting your keys on the counter and not anticipating an ambush. 3 months after the disowning, my mom called me from a different number. I recognized her voice immediately when I answered, and my body did that old automatic tension, shoulders rising, breath catching, before my brain could tell we were safe. "Hello," she said, cautious like she was testing the air. "Mom," I said. There was a pause, then a sniff. "We've been worried." I almost laughed again, that same hollow, almost laugh. "You disowned me," I said. "What part of that says worried?" "We didn't disown you," she said quickly. "Your father was just making a point." "A point," I repeated, and I could hear the disbelief in my own voice. She started crying softly. "Your father is under so much stress." And there was again the pivot, the plea for me to center my dad's emotions like they were the only ones that mattered. "What do you want?" I asked, and I hated how blunt it sounded, but I also hated the dance. My mom inhaled sharply. "Your aunt is getting married," she said. "It would look terrible if you weren't there." Not "I miss you." Not "I'm sorry." Not "Can we talk?" It was about looking terrible. About optics. About the family story. "I'm not going," I said. Silence. Then my mom's voice hardened slightly, just enough to reveal the spine under the softness. "Don't punish us." "I'm not punishing you," I said. "I'm respecting what you put in writing." She made an angry little sound, like she couldn't believe I was holding them to their own words. "So that's it? You're throwing your family away?" I closed my eyes. "You threw me away," I said. "I'm just not chasing you anymore." She hung up on me. After that, my dad tried once in the way he always tries when he wants control back, anger. He left a voicemail that was half lecture, half guilt trip, telling me I was being stubborn, that I was breaking my mother's heart, that I would regret this. He said, "You think you can do this alone?" Like independence was a punishment he could threaten. I didn't call back. I did regret things, but not what he meant. I regretted the years I spent thinking love had to hurt to be real. I regretted the dinners I sat through swallowing my own truth so my parents could feel comfortable. I regretted the way I let my brother coast while I carried the emotional work for everyone. But I didn't regret the quiet. A year passed, then another. People ask sometimes, "Do you miss them?" Like missing someone automatically means you should return to whatever harmed you. The answer is yes. I miss parts of them. I miss my mom when she's gentle and funny and telling stories about her childhood like she's just a person, not a weapon. I miss my dad's good moments when he's relaxed enough to be warm. I miss the fantasy of a family where conflict ends with understanding instead of punishment. But I don't miss the reality. And that's the part one didn't expect to feel so certain about. The strangest thing is that the longer I stayed away, the more my parents' anger shifted into something else, confusion. They'd spent my entire life training me to fear exclusion, and now they were watching me live without them. Not falling apart, not crawling back, just living. It didn't compute for them. They'd always assumed disowning was a weapon that would make me desperate. They never considered it might be a gift. The last time I saw them was accidental. I ran into my dad at a grocery store near their house when I was visiting a friend in the area. I was in the cereal aisle, comparing prices like a normal person, when I heard my name said in that familiar tone, like a warning. I turned, and there he was, older than I remembered, hair more gray, shoulders a little slumped like the world had finally started to press back. He stared at me like he'd spotted a ghost. For a second, I felt that old panic rise, the instinct to explain myself, to win approval, to make it okay. Then I noticed something simple. My hands were steady. My dad's mouth worked like he was trying to find the right line. "So," he said finally, as if we'd spoken yesterday, "you're still doing this?" I nodded. "Yes." He looked around like he expected someone to jump out and take sides. No one did. We were just two people in a grocery store aisle surrounded by cereal boxes and fluorescent light. "You really don't care," he said, and there was something almost wounded in it. I thought about it. "I care," I said. "I just don't fear you anymore." His face tightened, like those words were a slap. "We're your parents." "And I'm your daughter," I said. "Not your property." He opened his mouth, then shut it. His eyes flicked over me, my clothes, my posture, the lack of desperation. "You think you're better than us," he said, defaulting to the accusation that always made him feel powerful. I shook my head. "No," I said. "I think I'm allowed to have peace." He stared at me for a long moment, like he didn't know what to do with that. Then he said, very quietly, "Your mother misses you." I swallowed. My chest ached, but not enough to make me forget the letter. "Then she can apologize," I said. He scoffed, reflexive. Apologize for what? And there it was. The wall. The refusal to name harm. The insistence that love means never being held accountable. I took a step back, the cereal box cold under my fingers. "That's why I'm not coming back," I said. I walked away before my legs could start shaking. When I got to my car, I sat for a minute with my hands on the steering wheel, breathing in and out slowly. My heart hurt, but it didn't feel like a wound ripping open. It felt like an old bruise being pressed, sore, familiar, not fatal. I went home. I made tea. Sam asked how my day was, and I told him the truth without needing to edit it for anyone's comfort. Later, I stood in my kitchen and realized something that still surprises me when I say it out loud. The disowning didn't break me. It didn't ruin my life. It didn't turn me into a tragic cautionary tale. It cleared space. Space to be myself without being corrected. Space to build a home that didn't feel like a test. Space to breathe without waiting for someone to yank the air away as punishment. Space to love people who don't treat love like leverage. My parents thought "don't come back" was the worst thing they could say to me. They were right about one thing. I didn't come back. But they were wrong about what that meant. They thought it would make me desperate. Instead, it made me peaceful.